Hey guys, welcome back to the course. We started our journey into understanding Python fundamentals by covering the process of creating variables, loops, and conditional logic in the last lecture. In this lecture, we will continue that momentum and understand some of the most common data structures in Python, like lists and dictionaries. Since this course is intended for beginners, I have deliberately kept the complexity to the minimum. So without further ado, let's jump into it right away. A list in Python is one of the most fundamental data types that is used to store and organize data in a sequential order. Lists by nature are mutable, meaning that their existing data, which is commonly referred to as elements, can be modified. Some of the key features of lists are sequential order, meaning that they are going to maintain the order of elements and these elements can be actioned upon based on their index position in the list. Each element or value in the list is identified by its index position, which by default starts with 0. We can use that index position to extract values from within lists. The second is their heterogeneous nature, meaning that they can contain elements of different data types like integers, strings, floats, etc. The third important one is their dynamic nature, which allows us to add, remove, or modify their elements as per our need. Now let's go through all of this with a practical example. Here we have a variable called city and we have initialized it with a list containing three values, Delhi, London, and New York. A list is denoted by square brackets and its values are called elements. Each value in the list has a specific index position and it always starts with 0. So Delhi is at index 0, London is at index 1, so on and so forth. We can retrieve a specific value from the list using its index position. Let's say we want to retrieve the value London, whose index value is 1. So we just call its index value during runtime. As you can see, the code successfully printed London on the console. I mentioned earlier that a list can contain values of different data types. This list now contains an integer value and a float value. Let's now retrieve the integer value using its index, and as you can see, it successfully prints 23 on the console. I also mentioned earlier that we can add or remove elements in the list. In order to add an element in the list, we can use the insert method and provide the new element's index position and value as arguments. Here we have added Mumbai at index 0, which means that it's going to be inserted at the front. Let's print the list now, and as you can see, Mumbai is now added at index 0. Then to delete an element, we can use a method called pop and specify the index position of the element we want to delete. Let's go back to the main list and say we want to delete New York from the list. We know that its index position is 2. So let's pass that as an argument to the pop method and run it. As you can see, New York is now removed from the list. We can also append the list using append method, which is going to add the value at the end of the list. Let's say we want to add New York back into the list, but not necessarily at its old index position. Instead of adding it using the insert method, we can simply use append method, and as you can see, it's now added to the end of the list. These were some of the common methods that we can use while working with lists. Since lists play a pivotal role because they are extensively used while working with modern structured data formats like JSON, it is extremely important that you understand their function. Let's now talk about another important Python data type called dictionaries. These are used to store data in key value pairs, and these are usually denoted by curly brackets. Similar to lists, dictionaries are changeable, meaning that we can modify or add or remove items from the dictionary after it has been created. Since this concept of key value is unique to dictionaries, it is important to note that keys must always be unique, which means that a dictionary cannot have duplicate keys. Another similarity that dictionaries share with lists is that the values assigned to the keys can be of any data type, including integers, strings, etc. Let's now understand all of that with a practical example. Here we have a variable called dictionary1 and it's initialized with a dictionary containing two key pair values. The first key is country and its corresponding value is India. The second key is capital and its corresponding value is Delhi. If we want to retrieve a certain value, then we need to call its corresponding key. For example, if I want to retrieve the value Delhi, then I need to reference its key called capital during runtime. The key is referenced using square brackets. Let's run it and see what we get. As you can see, we successfully retrieved the value of the key capital. Now let's try to modify the contents of this dictionary by adding a new key value pair. For that, we have a method called update available to us. Here we are adding a new key called sport with a corresponding value of hockey. Let's run that and then print the updated dictionary. As you can see, the new key value pair has been successfully added to the dictionary. Now, if you want to delete this newly added key, then we can use the pop method and pass the key name as an argument. Let's try that and see what the outcome is. As you can see, the sport key is no longer there. One more thing that I mentioned earlier while covering the basics of dictionaries was that the values assigned to the key can be of different data types. They can be strings, integers, floats, or even lists. Let's now check out an example in that context. We have a new variable called dictionary2, and the dictionary that's assigned to it has a key called country. But instead of having only one entity as its value, it has a complete list containing multiple country names as its value. We also know that list values are referenced using their index positions. So if I wanted to extract the value England from dictionary2, then I would use its index during runtime. Here we are calling dictionary2, then we are referencing the key name followed by the value's index position in the list. Let's run it and see what we get. As you can see, the correct value was successfully retrieved. I hope you now feel much more comfortable with the concepts of dictionaries and lists because you will see them being used quite a lot in your automation journey. So, with that, I thank you for joining me in this journey, and I hope you find the rest of the course useful as well.